What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I want to give you guys some quick Atlanta Falcons news, and I also want to recap the NFL draft. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for continuing to share out my content on all the social media platforms. If you would like to follow your boy on Twitter, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. But I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for helping your boy. I'm on the road to 2,000 subscribers, so definitely continue to share out my content. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So first off, in Atlanta Falcons news, Hayden Hurst, tight end for Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons didn't pick up his fifth-year option, which comes as no surprise to me due to the Atlanta Falcons drafting Kyle Pitts with our first-round draft pick out of the University of Florida. He is a guy that can possibly be the successor to a guy like Hayden Hurst. Like I said, it's not a surprise to me that we didn't pick up Hayden Hurst's fifth-year option because we are really tight to the cap. And we have a guy in Kyle Pitts who's on a rookie deal, and the Falcons have a lot of players that are due new contracts coming up down the line, and I don't believe we're going to be able to afford to keep a guy like Hayden Hurst. I do expect Hayden Hurst to play out this season with our Atlanta Falcons, and maybe we can get a comp pick for him when he becomes a free agent if he decides to, walk after this season. But like I said, it doesn't come as a surprise to me that the Falcons didn't pick up Hayden Hurst's fifth-year option due to us having a lot of great young players on this roster, and with us having a lot of big contracts on this roster with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Grady Jarrett, Jake Matthews, and the list goes on and on of the guys that we've already signed that has big contracts. And then we have guys like Calvin Ridley, who we did pick up his fifth-year option as well. Foye Aluakan, these are guys that will be due new contracts coming up. So I wasn't surprised to see us not pick up Hayden Hurst's fifth-year option, but I also wasn't surprised to see us pick up Calvin Ridley's fifth-year option because I do believe that Calvin Ridley will be here for the long term. I do believe he's going to get a big contract from the Atlanta Falcons. If it's not this season, I believe next offseason, when the salary cap is expected to go back up in the next couple years, I do expect Calvin Ridley to get a big contract and be the future number one wide receiver, possibly for our Atlanta Falcons for years to come. I do believe a guy like Arthur Smith, who's the head coach now of our Atlanta Falcons, I do believe he likes players like Calvin Ridley, being that he's an offensive-minded head coach. I can't see him allowing a talent like Calvin Ridley to walk in free agency or to be outbidded. So I do expect them to give Calvin Ridley a new deal before it's all said and done and before his contract is up. I do expect the Falcons to give him a new deal. We'll see what Terry Fontenot does, but I just think Calvin Ridley is one of the best young receivers in the game. Calvin Ridley's 26 years old, still really hasn't hit his prime, and he's a guy that I can see being in Atlanta Falcons for many years to come. I can see him signing a 3 or 4 year deal, or maybe even a 5-year deal with our Atlanta Falcons. And Calvin Ridley, like I said, is one of the best route runners in the game, has great hands, and he proved last season when Julio Jones went down with injury that he's a guy that can play that number one role as a wide receiver. He had over 1,300 yards receiving last year and about 9 touchdowns. So he's a guy that stepped up in the absence last year of Julio Jones, who battled injuries all year long. And him and Matt Ryan were able to develop great chemistry last year, with him becoming the number one target, with Julio Jones being out of the lineup for about 7 games, I believe. Julio Jones was outside of the lineup. So Calvin Ridley did a good job of seizing the opportunity to prove that he's a guy that can possibly be a number one wide receiver for our Atlanta Falcons going forward. Now, Calvin Ridley does still have some holes in this game that he can improve. With him not liking contact and things of that nature, I do believe that's something that he can outgrow, and that's something that as he continues to play in the league, I do believe that that's something, that toughness. I do believe he has the toughness to possibly be, like I said, a number one wide receiver. But with that being said, I also want to talk about in this video the NFL draft. I want to recap the NFL draft and my thoughts on the NFL draft and how the Atlanta Falcons did. I don't know if you guys have seen, but the media has been giving every franchise a grade, and they gave our Atlanta Falcons an A plus. I believe that it was voted upon in the media that the Falcons on one of these NFL.com or one of these networks actually said that the Falcons had the best draft, that we graded out as the best draft as far as our draft class. I think Terry Fontenot in his first year of calling the shots as the GM did a great job of drafting best player available. Kyle Pitts was to me was a home run. He knocked it out of the park with that 4th round pick. He did what he said he was going to do. He kept his word with going best player available and not taking a quarterback at 4. He did a great job in picking up Richie Grant, who I think is going to be a game changer at that safety position, a guy that's going to be a ball hawk, a guy on that back end that can be that eraser for our Atlanta Falcons. So I think he did a great job of bringing in a guy that's versatile. Richie Grant not only is a guy that can play both safety roles, but he's also a guy that is great in man coverage and can play in the slot as well and cover guys man to man like a DB. So I think he's that was an excellent pickup for our Atlanta Falcons in the draft in round 2. Jalen Mayfield, a guy that we picked up, I believe, in the 3rd round. He's an offensive lineman out of the University of Michigan. Physical guy, physical specimen, a great run blocking offensive lineman, and also a decent pass blocking offensive lineman. He played at the University of Michigan. I was really impressed with seeing us build the trenches. Him and Drew Dahlman, the center out of Stanford. He's another guy that is going to come in and be able to compete with a guy like Matt Hennessy. And I think that he's going to be a guy that can compete for that center position and possibly a guard position on this team. But he mainly plays center at the University of Stanford. So I'm definitely excited to see his versatility and also to see him compete for a starting role with our Atlanta Falcons. Darren Hall was a guy we took out of San Diego State, a cornerback. That's the same school that DeMonte Casey came out of San Diego State. And he drew a lot of comparisons to a guy like DeMonte Casey when he was at San Diego State. And I do think that he's a guy that's a ball hawk, had a ton of interceptions when he was at San Diego State. And I do think he's also another guy that can possibly compete for either the slot role, the nickel corner, or maybe even the starting cornerback position opposite of AJ Terrell. If the cards, if he plays his cards right, he could possibly be a guy that comes in and competes with Fabian Monroe, competes with Kendall Sheffield and Isaiah Oliver. So I'm loving the picks that Terry Fontenot grabbed in this draft. Guys like Taquan Graham is another pick that we had. I believe we took him in the 4th or 5th round. He was a DT or a defensive tackle out of the University of Texas. He's about 6'4", 295 pounds. So that was a position that I thought the Falcons were going to go with a bigger, more stout player. But I do like that Taquan Graham is a guy that's physical. He's a guy that can play the 3-tech. He's a long, athletic nose tackle. And I think he can do some things next to Grady Jarrett on pass rushing downs. And even in the run game, I think he was solid. And he's a guy that can come in and play a role on this team. I don't expect him to have a huge role, but I do think he's a guy that can come in and have impact. Also, the kid, I forget his name now. I believe his last name is Williams. He played at the University of Boise State. And he was a guy that we brought in to be mainly a special teams guy but he also plays the defensive back position as well. And I think he can come in and give us something on the special team side. He can come in maybe and compete, for the punt return as a punt return specialist. Williams out of Boise State was a guy who had numerous touchdowns returned on punt returns and kickoff returns. So I can definitely see him being a guy that can come in and compete with a guy like Cordell Patterson for the punt return position. Also in this draft, we took the kid out of Arizona State who plays wide receiver, Frank Darby. He's another guy that I really like out of this draft. He was our 6th round pick. He played for coach Herman Edwards, who's a former NFL player and NFL coach, and former NFL analyst who now coaches at Arizona State University as the head coach there. And Frank Darby is a guy that I think is going to come in and be a special teams player. He's also going to be a guy that's going to compete for maybe the 4th or 5th wide receiver position on this team. Frank Darby, to me, he's not a great route runner, but he is a great possession receiver. And to me, he does a great job at tracking the football on deep patterns. So I definitely think that he's a guy that's a physical specimen, a guy that can be a wild card on special teams and could be a wild card, kind of like a guy like Justin Hardy, who we had years ago, who was a do-it-all type wide receiver. He played special teams. He was a reliable 4th or 5th option at wide receiver. And I can see a guy like Darby definitely coming in and playing a role on special teams and possibly being a guy who could be that 4th or 5th string wide receiver for our team as well. Now, I believe that was all of the guys other than the kid out of Notre Dame. I think he can also have impact. I don't know how to say his name, but he's a guy that goes about 6'5", and I do think that he's going to be a guy that can compete for some time at the edge rush position. I love his size, 6'5", 270 pounds. The kid played at Notre Dame. I'm not too sure. I don't want to butcher his name, but he's definitely a guy that I really like in this draft as well that we picked up. A guy that I think can possibly compete at that edge position. 6'5", long arms, can set the edge in the run game, and can also be a guy that can develop into maybe a great pass rusher because of his size. He has all the tools to definitely become a great pass rusher. It's just going to be up to him working on his craft and Dean Pease putting him in positions where he can succeed. But I do love pretty much this draft class that we brought in. I did give it a B+ personally. I think it was a B+ draft grade for Terry Fontenot in his first draft as the GM. I think he did an excellent job at building the trenches on the offensive side of the ball because we know we have struggled to protect Matt Ryan. So I think he did a good job of bringing in quality offensive linemen. And I think he also did a great job at bringing in guys that are very versatile in this draft, whether it's the secondary or whether it's the offensive lineman that he drafted that can play multiple positions like a Jalen Mayfield, or even the wide receivers like Frank Darby that he brought in is a guy that can do multiple things, not just play offense, but basically play special teams. And then Kyle Pitts. I just feel like all of the picks that we had between Kyle Pitts, Richie Grant, I think we did a good job with those first 2 picks of bringing in guys that can come in day one and that can compete for starting positions. And then the other guys that we drafted, I think that they can be guys that can develop into some solid players like the Jalen Mayfields of the world and the Drew Dalmans. Maybe those guys can possibly compete for starting positions, but I definitely think that they're going to be great rotational guys and great depth pieces. So, like I said, I give Terry Fontenot a B+ for this draft. I think he did a great job at bringing in blue-collar guys that can come in and compete, can push the starters that we currently have on the roster. And Arthur Smith has already said that the best players will play. So all of these guys have to go out there and earn their stripes. And I'm very happy with this new regime so far. I think They're doing a great job with our Atlanta Falcons. I'm definitely excited about the preseason in a couple months and training camp to see what these guys are able to do and see how these guys are able to put it together. But with that being said, this has been your boy Jew. You let me know what you think of the video. Leave your comments below. Definitely hit that like button for your boy. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoy my content. And definitely leave a comment so we can keep the algorithm going. We want this video to reach as many people as possible. But I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. And as always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace.